Hey, what's up everybody? So today I'm going to tell you guys about my internal medicine rotation and everything about it. Let's get to it. So my internal medicine rotation was 10 weeks long, 1 week of that being orientation and three-week blocks within the other 9 weeks. My first week I spent at an outside hospital doing internal medicine. Just as a hospitalist, those hours range from 6 a.m. to about 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, never had to work the weekends. My service was general hospitalist. I didn't have any specialty there, so it was pretty sweet. I got to see what an internal medicine doctor kind of does. I wasn't really with attendings. I only spent maybe a few minutes per day with attendings, and the rest of the time was with residents. So that was kind of the pitfall with that particular rotation or sub rotation. But the general population was older patients. A lot of them just had chronic medical conditions such as heart failure, or some of them had like DKA, things like that. Not a lot of ICU stuff, just general medical management. Most of the patients have been there for a while from what I perceived, but whenever a new patient came on, it was my job as a med student to round on that patient and get ready and present it to everybody. And then I would have to follow up at the end of the day with the patient I had to see what their new labs look like, any scans or studies, and then report to the residents. My rounds, so I get there at 6, I rounded at like 8 a.m. it was a table round. We went over about 20 patients. I was in charge of 2, 3, maybe 4 patients. Present to the attending and the residents. Those table rounds took forever. They were like 3 hours long just sitting there. And if there's 20 or 30 patients and you just present 2 or 3, you're sitting there for the most part not doing anything. So just be prepared for that. At least I was at table rounds. I know a lot of people had walking rounds, so they would walk for 3 or 4 hours, and that sounds horrible. But that was my first 3 weeks. My middle 3 weeks were ambulatory. For this, it was 1 week of it was 1 week of hospice and 2 weeks of outpatient general internal medicine. So the 1 week of hospice was actually really cool. It really kind of made me interested in hospice. I thought it was really neat to see these patients in this stage of their life and interact with the families and see the kind of medicine that's involved with this type of patient population. So for this, we had 1 day of just education. So we met with like a hospice nurse, and she gave us a presentation on what hospice it was, and that was like a half day. That Tuesday, we drove around with one hospice nurse to several different houses or apartments or wherever they live, living facilities, and provided hospice care. So you could see what that kind of environment was like. So when you talk to patients later on in life, you kind of have an understanding of what hospice looks like. The third day was inpatient hospice. So patients that are more serious or sick that need to go to an inpatient facility, but not the hospital. We worked there. That was a half day where we just rounded with a nurse practitioner. And then that Thursday was again the same thing as Wednesday, rounding with a nurse practitioner in the morning, had the half day off. And then Friday, they gave us a study day. So like that was a pretty cool week. The last 2 weeks were outpatient internal medicine. So basically the same thing as family medicine. Full day of seeing patients, outpatient type of setting, seeing basically only adult patients in a family medicine type of practice. And then my third 3-week block was at a rural hospital. So it really wasn't that rural. It had like 300 beds, but compared to like my home institution of 1,000 beds, like my school considers it rural. The doctors I was working with laughed when I said it was a rural hospital, but I was just paired with one attending, no residents, one attending from 7 a.m. to approximately 4 p.m. Monday through Friday for 2.5 weeks. This was where you could see what a hospitalist from an attending perspective looks like. But other than that, general hospitalist wasn't too bad. Some of my friends had specialty clinics, so they would be like cardiology or nephrology or any pulmonology, anything that was a specialty. They did 3 weeks of that. Mine was at ambulatory. So I didn't get to experience a specialty clinic, but we had the ability to request that if we wanted to, and I requested the ambulatory. So that was what my schedule looked like. Things that they like to ask me questions on are medications. If their patient is on a medication, know what that medication is, know the mechanism of action. You don't need to know the dosing or the route, but just know the medication that you're giving and why you're giving it. And some of the attendings loved mechanism of actions. Really doesn't matter for step 2, so I kind of forgot most of it, so I would have to refresh myself on that. Other than that, they didn't really care about anatomy like surgery, but they do want you to understand why you're getting a study. So if you're getting a CT scan, be able to read a CT scan or an x-ray, because they get those studies all the time. So be able to kind of know the relevant anatomy with a CT scan or an x-ray. But I felt like it was pretty simple. It wasn't too crazy. Just be prepared for endless hours of rounding. That's going to happen. Just expect it. Other than that, that's pretty much all I got. So if you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section below. If you want me to do a specific video, just ask and I'll do it. But other than that, I'll see you next time. Thanks.